The Galactic Stadium hung in space like a glowing jewel. Ships of all sizes gathered around, forming rings of spectators. It was the opening day of the Grand Warship Showcase, a time when the most powerful races of the galaxy displayed there. Newest weapons, fastest ships, brightest pride. The air was thick with excitement. The Velar brought their sleek Hunter-class cruisers, shaped like blades of silver lightning. The Char came with massive plasma towers floating in orbit, loud and proud. The Uran showed off their stealth ships, cloaked and reappearing in flashes. Each ship fired harmless bursts into space, a show of might. Every race cheered for their own. Then came a silence, followed by a strange sound creak. It was old, slow, heavy. A ship entered the arena late, moving like a tired beast in deep water. Paint was chipped, panels were dented, its engines gave a low hum, not a roar. It was huge, dark gray, with no fancy glow or modern shine. Its name flickered in red. IRON WILLTHE. Crowd stared for a moment, confused. Then they burst out laughing. What is that? Is that a mining ship? Did the humans send a museum piece? It looks like it runs on hope and rust. Even the announcers couldn't hold back. And here comes humanity's entry. One alien host joked, perhaps they misunderstood? This isn't a scrapyard contest. In the command seat of the Iron Will, an old man sat quietly, Commander Harlan. He wore a simple black uniform, no medals, no rank stripes. His silver hair was tied back neatly. His eyes, though old, were sharp and calm. Next to him, his young navigation officer, L.T. Brea, whispered nervously, "Sir, they're laughing at us." "I hear them," Harlan said softly. "Should we say something? Defend ourselves?" He shook his head. "Let them laugh." Brea looked at the control panel. Most buttons were worn smooth. Screens flickered. One panel was held together with duct tape. She whispered again, "Commander, this ship, she's old. We shouldn't be here." Harlan smiled faintly. "You weren't born when she first flew. I was a pilot then. She saved more worlds than you've ever heard of. Old doesn't mean weak." Outside, the mockery continued. The Velar captain opened a broadcast line. "Humans, do you want us to tow your ship to the museum?" His crew laughed loudly behind him. "You could watch us race from the window?" Another alien voice chimed in. "Is that a warship? Or a floating coffin? Don't sneeze, it might fall apart." Harlan's crew shifted in their seats, uncomfortable. They weren't used to this level of public shame. Still, Commander didn't respond. He simply stared at the fleet before him. It shipped faster, flashier and newer than his. But none of them knew what Iron Will had inside. They only saw the surface. They didn't ask what it was built for. Brea leaned closer, whispering one last time, "Why are we really here, sir?" Harlan finally turned. His head, his eyes dark and steady. "We're not here to win their praise," he said. "We're here to remind them why they fear Earth." That night, as the ships docked and the crowd celebrated, a few curious aliens scanned Iron Will. They found nothing threatening. No massive guns, no visible launch tubes, no exotic energy cores. They relaxed. Just a slow ship, just an old man. Just human pride. But in the heart of the Iron Will, deep beneath the surface, an ancient system clicked online. A glowing core lit up for the first time in years. A message flashed across the secret screen. "Threat detected. Begin silent monitoring." Commander Harlan, lone in his quarters, stared out the window. Outside, stars sparkled like they were laughing. He closed his eyes and whispered to the ship, "Let them laugh. They'll cry later." The next day, the warship arena buzzed with energy. Floating banners and alien languages lit up the sky. Grand music played from invisible speakers. Crowds from dozens of planets watched from orbit, screens, and holographic cubes. Everyone waited for the announcement, and then it came. A tall, blue-skinned warrior stepped onto the main stage. His golden armor shimmered under the artificial sun. His eyes were sharp with pride and cruelty. He was High Commander Rithos of the Velar Empire Young. famous and dangerously arrogant. He raised one arm and spoke into the universal comes. Let the games begin. The crowd cheered. These are not just games of speed, Rithos continued. These are tests of power, courage, and dominance. We challenge all ships to a battle demonstration. He paused, and his eyes turned toward the Iron Will, still hovering like a shadow at the edge of the arena. Even, old one. The crowd erupted into laughter. Rithos smiled wide and added, if the humans still have the courage to fight. Inside the Iron Will, LT Brea stood from her station. That's a direct challenge. Sir, she said sharply. Commander Harlan didn't look surprised. He leaned back, eyes half closed, as if expecting this moment. He wants a reaction, Harlan said. Let's not give him satisfaction. But sir, we can't ignore it, Brea pressed. They'll say we're cowards. Harlan finally stood, and let them say it. Until we answer. He walked slowly to the COM panel, the single press. He opened a reply channel. The room fell silent. Harlan's voice came through, steady and calm. Challenge accepted. There was no shouting. No threats. Just those two words. The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. Commander Rithos blinked, then laughed. Very well, human. Tomorrow, your ship will face 3 of ours in a mock battle. No real deaths, no escape. Just prove you belong. Here, the feed ended. Brea turned to Harlan. Sir, we can't win in a direct fight. We don't fight like they do, Harlan replied. She frowned. Then how? He looked at the glowing panels, each older than most officers in the arena. We fight like Earth taught us, he said. We wait, we watch, and then we break them where they least expect it. That night, whispers spread across the galaxy. Why? Did the humans accept? They must be bluffing. That ship can't even turn fast. Many races placed bets. Some bet Iron Will would run. Others said it would explode in the first round. None believed it could win. Meanwhile, deep inside the Iron Will, something stirred. Old defense systems powered on silently. Invisible tech. Locked onto the Veeler's ships. Every bolt, every vent, every weak spot was scanned. The crew didn't notice, not even Brea. Only Harlan knew. He stood in a dark chamber. Deep below the command decline, only captains were allowed to enter. Before him, in a sealed cube, pulsed a dark red orb. Not human. Not alien. Something older. Forgotten. He reached out and touched the glass. It responded to him like it remembered him. I know, Harlan whispered. They've forgotten. They think power is flash and sound. They've forgotten what silence can do. The orb glowed brighter. The next morning, as the arena filled once more, 3 Veeler ships floated proudly into position. They were newer, faster, and armed with the latest energy weapons. Their hulls gleamed with blue fire. Iron Will drifted in slowly, as if unsure of its direction. The announcers chuckled. Will it even make it to the center before the match ends? Maybe they're planning to crash and call it strategy. Countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Inside the Iron Will, Brea's hands trembled over her console. Sir, we're not ready. Yes, we are, Harlan said quietly. 3, 2, 1. Battle start. The Veeler ships fired instantly bolts of plasma, and sonic cannons shot across space. Iron Will didn't move. The crowd gasped. The blasts struck the ship's front and disappeared. No explosion, no flames, nothing. Just gone. What happened? The announcer stuttered. Did the shots vanish? The Veeler ships hesitated, then one of them, Veeler Alpha 7, began to spin out of control. Its thrusters misfired. Its shield flickered. Then boom. Not destroyed, but disabled, all without a single shot fired by the humans. Brea's eyes widened. Sir, how did... Harlan didn't answer. He just watched as the second Veelar ship turned, trying to flank Iron Will. Its engine suddenly shut down mid-flight. It spun into space, helpless, Only one VLR ship remained. Its captain screamed into the comms. "What trick is this? What tech did you use?" Harlan finally opened his mic. His voice was low. "Calm. You never asked what the ship carries. You only laughed." The final VLR ship powered down. Battle over, no shot fired by the humans. Just silence. Precision, control, and fear. The galactic arena was no longer filled with laughter. Silence stretched across the viewing decks, across floating city ships, and even inside the military command rooms of distant empires. The Iron Will had not fired a single shot. To VLR. Warships now drifted powerlessly, and a third retreated with all systems offline. Everyone had watched it live. Everyone had seen the impossible. That was the only question burning in every mind. Back on the VLR flagship, High Commander Rithos was fuming. He slammed his fists on the command table. "Replay the data. Where is their weapon? Their countermeasure? Something." The science officer, a pale blue-skinned Valari female, was shaking. "There's nothing, Commander. We scanned them before the battle. There are no energy readings. No visible weapons. Their tech reads," she gulped, "primitive." He stared at her, "And yet we lost." "3 ships," she whispered. "Yes, sir." Thos narrowed his eyes. "I want that human warship scanned again inside and out." Inside Iron Will, the atmosphere was the opposite, quiet, calm. Commander Harlan sipped tea in his quarters as if nothing had happened. He gazed out the viewing window where the broken VLR ships floated in the distance like toys thrown aside by a child. LT Brea rushed in, eyes wide. "Sir, are you seeing the reports?" "Everyone's panicking. Every channel is asking what we used. The Uran fleet just pulled out of the next round." Harlan didn't even turn. "That's wise of them." She stepped closer. "Commander, even I don't know what happened." "Did the ship do?" He looked at her, quiet for a moment, then said softly. She listened. Brea blinked. Harlan nodded. "Iron Will has a mind, Lieutenant, not like ours. Not fast, but old, deep. She remembers pain, she detects. Threat not by sensors, but by intention." Brea looked stunned. "But that's not in the logs, not in the specs." "It wouldn't be," Harlan said, "because what she carries wasn't made by humans alone. Far away in a secret VLR lab orbiting a gas giant, scientists pored over battle footage. Dozens of frames were enhanced, filtered, and scanned. Suddenly one tech shouted, "There!" Between frame 993 and 994, they froze the screen. A strange distortion, barely visible, rippled near Iron Will's hull. A shimmer of space, like light folding in on itself. "What is that?" asked the lead scientist. "Graviton twist." One guessed. "Wormhole pulse," offered another. "No," said the lead softly. "It's older than that." They all looked at each other. Something was deeply wrong. Meanwhile, in the arena, the next phase of the showcase was delayed. Many races pulled their ships out. Some said they had engine problems. Others claimed navigation errors, but everyone knew the truth. They didn't want to face the human warship, and those that remained began studying Iron Will, watching it, circling it, recording everything. But the ship just drifted silently in, movered. At midnight, 3 stealth drones from the Valari Syndicate approached Iron Will without permission. These drones were invisible to most sensors. Their goal was to scan the inner structure, steal tech blueprints, and return unseen. They got close. Very close. One even managed to enter a service vent on the lower hull. For a few minutes, everything went well. Then dash crack. A signal burst across all channels. A sharp, piercing scream of broken metal. The drones vanished from space. No explosion. No fire. Just nothing. The Valari Syndicate received a single return transmission. Some doors weren't meant to be opened. The message wasn't from the humans. It came directly from the Iron Will, in a voice no one had ever heard before. A voice that wasn't human, or alien. Commander Harlan sat in the core chamber, facing the red orb again. It pulsed slowly stronger now. Awake. He rested a hand gently against the glass. "You still remember, don't you?" he whispered. "The wars, the screams, the fire." Orb pulsed brighter. He nodded. "Good, just don't wake up all the way. Not yet." The next morning, an emergency session of the Galactic Council was called. Ambassadors, admirals, kings, and scholars gathered via hologram. At the center floated a paused frame of the Iron Will, with the caption, "Unknown threat, human vessel Iron Will." One voice, trembling, asked, "Should we demand they shut it down?" Another replied, "And if they refuse?" Third added quietly, "If that ship really carries what we think, we may not get a second chance." Then an older ambassador said what everyone feared to say aloud, "If we attack it, and we're wrong, it might not survive what wakes up." Back in orbit, Iron Will floated calmly near a moon. Brea looked out the window with uneasy eyes. "We're being watched by every eye in the galaxy." Harlan stood beside her. "Good." She turned. "Why?" He looked toward the stars. "Because the first lesson wasn't for them. It was for us." Brea frowned. "Us." Harlan nodded. Double quotes, "If even our allies forgot what we carry, then they needed to remember too." He stepped away, heading back to the control deck. "We're not here to win their games, Lieutenant. We're here to remind them why they stopped making war with humans." The galaxy was no longer laughing. Across empires and stations, the same name echoed in every military briefing, news report, and classified document: Iron Will. A slow human ship, an old relic, a ghost that disabled advanced warships. Without firing a shot, a warship that spoke on its own. And perhaps thought everyone wanted answers. But Earth said nothing. The Human Defense Council gave no interviews. They ignored all demands. And Commander Harlan just let the ship drift quietly through neutral space, like it had nothing to prove. But not everyone could wait. Deep inside a moon-sized black market station, orbiting a dying red star, a secret meeting took place. A long table, 6 alien species, 6 agendas. They weren't friends. They were thieves, scientists, warlords. But they all shared one goal: find out what the humans are hiding. The Valari hacker queen, covered in bioluminescent tattoos, clicked her claws. "We lost 3 of our best stealth drones. No trace, no data. That ship doesn't just see to races." The charbrute beside her growled. "Then let's hit it with a real fleet." The old Iran scribe shook his head. "Fool, if it is what we think. Direct assault could wake something. We can't put back to sleep." Everyone fell silent. The Grell whisperer leaned forward. "Then we use something older than war." "Like what?" the others asked. She grinned. "Curiosity." 2 days later, a sleek, white civilian vessel approached. Iron Will. It broadcasted peaceful signals, non-hostile, unarmed, diplomatic. It asked to speak, to learn, to admire. Inside, it carried a team of scientists, artists, and one beautiful, half-telepathic negotiator named Valari. Her voice could charm warlords. Her presence could calm riots. She stood at the airlock, dressed in ceremonial silk, her mind gently brushing the edges of Iron Will as they docked. But the ship did not respond. No alarms. No defenses, just silence. She smiled. "They'll open the door. No one resists curiosity forever." And the door did open. Inside, they found dim halls lined with thick walls. The air was colder than expected. The lights flickered with age. Pipes hissed softly, and the sound of deep machinery echoed from below. But no crew greeted them, only silence. Valerie moved slowly, her team behind her, scanning walls and panels. Some rooms were locked, others empty. One room contained an old human flag, faded but clean. Then they found it. A sealed vault door, 10 inches thick, marked with red human warnings: restricted V-class armament, storage authorized access. Commander Alni Valari tilted her head, touching the door with a psychic pulse. What she felt on the other side made her step back in shock. It wasn't metal. It wasn't human. It was watching her back, far above, in the Iron Will's bridge. Commander Harlan sat quietly, sipping tea. He had watched the entire visit. He allowed them in. He allowed them to find the vault. He wanted them to feel it. Brea stood beside him, tense. Why are you letting them roam the ship? Harlan didn't answer. He tapped a small button inside the lower decks. The floor shifted beneath the alien team's boots. The air grew colder. The lights dimmed. A low hum deep and ancient rattled the bones of everyone present. One scientist whispered, "Something is waking." Valari turned sharply. "We leave now." As they moved back toward the docked ship, the Iron Will whispered through the intercom, not in a voice, not in words, in thought. "You shouldn't have touched the door." Their escape shuttle launched quickly, but before they left, they looked back. The vault door hadn't opened, but something behind it had moved. A week later, fragments of strange radiation were picked up from the Iron Will. Energy not seen in the galaxy for thousands of years. Frequencies buried in forbidden archives. Old scientists who remembered the early wars panicked. "This can't be," one whispered. The signature matched something only rumored. Void-class arsenal weapons banned by every council. Weapons that fed on thought. Weapons that made stars bleed. Only one conclusion remained. Earth had hidden something terrible and put it inside a slow ship. The Galactic Council met again. Panic showed on every face. How did they hide it? Why didn't they use it before? Why wake it now? No one had answers. One older council member, a human ally, spoke quietly. Because humans never build things to use. We build things to warn. Back on the Iron Will, Brea finally. Asked Harlan, the question burning inside her. Why are we letting them get so close? They fear us now. But if we keep pushing? He looked at her, eyes heavy, because fear fades, but memory lasts. He stood, walking toward the sealed vault. He placed his hand on the panel, not opening it, just feeling it breathe. They must remember what we buried here, he whispered. Brea stepped back. Sir, what's really in there? Harlan stared at the door. Something we never wanted to understand. But something we kept, just in case they ever laughed at Earth again. The stars had stopped laughing. For days, the galaxy held its breath. Across battlecruisers and research stations, embassies and war rooms, the only name whispered was Iron Will. And now, those whispers had turned into fear. The footage of the alien research team stepping back from the vault, the way the shadows moved behind the sealed door, had gone viral, even in restricted channels. But humans said nothing. Commander, Harlan said nothing. And Iron Will continued drifting in neutral space, silent and still. But that silence wouldn't last. A fleet arrived. Not an attack force. A demonstration force. The Viler called it a containment protocol. 30 ships. Shielded. Armed. Circle formation. They didn't dare open fire. But they wanted to send a message. You're being watched. Their goal. Pressure. Surround the human ship. Force Earth to explain the vault. Make the humans flinch. It was a mistake. From the bridge of the Iron Will, Brea looked at the screens. The VLR fleet had created a perfect sphere around them. They think they're in control, she said. Nervous Commander Harlan stood at the window, hands behind his back, calm as always. They aren't. We're slowly walked to the command chair and pressed a single switch on the console. A deep mechanical chime echoed through the ship. What? What did you just activate? Brea asked, alarmed. The vault is still sealed, Harlan replied, but the ship's eyes are now open. Brea's heart skipped. Eyes. Harlan nodded. They locked us in a circle. Let's show them what it feels like to be the one inside the cage. On every Viller ship, alarms began to blare. One by one, their cameras and sensors went dark. Shields flickered. Targeting systems failed. Backup power surged, then collapsed. No attack had started, yet ships began spinning, drifting like the laws of motion had been rewritten. Panic erupted on the Velar flagship, sir. Oh, we're losing control of our fleet. Something's jamming us, but there's no signal. All systems non-responsive. High Commander Rithos stood up, pale now. Where's it coming from? Then the view screen changed. Iron Will filled the screen, and the ship was glowing, but not with lights, with shadows. Dark bands of energy, like bent light, pulsed slowly across its hull, circling the vault, and then a hum, not loud, not sharp, a low, ancient hum, like the sound of a planet sighing. The Velar ships began shaking, hull plates bent, antennas snapped. Entire control systems began writing unreadable glyphs onto their screen, symbols no one had seen in thousands of years. On one ship, a young technician began bleeding from her ears. "It's not a signal," she whispered before fainting. "It's a memory, and it hates us." Inside Iron Will, Brea stepped back from her console. The lights had dimmed across the bridge. All systems still showed normal. But she felt it in her chest. Like the ship was alive, not metal, not code, but watching. She turned to Harlan. "Commander, are you sure it's still under our control?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said quietly, "Control isn't the word I'd use." The Velar flagship suddenly fired a warning shot, just one plasma round, into empty space. A mistake. Instantly, a single beam of light shot from Iron Will. Not a missile. Not a laser, just light. It struck the plasma shot in mid-space, and everything stopped. The plasma froze. The ship that fired it froze. Its crew, frozen in time. No movement, no systems. Just complete and total suspension. One shot. One punishment. The rest of the Velar fleet broke formation. They scattered. No commands, no orders. They ran. But Iron Will didn't chase, didn't speak. It just turned and slowly moved away. That night, hundreds of alien governments signed an emergency pact. Do not engage, do not provoke. Do not surround the human vessel Iron Will under any circumstances. Inside the sealed vault, the red orb pulsed once, not with hunger, not with rage, with reminder. A reminder that Earth still carried what the stars had once buried. A weapon built from silence. A thing not born of war but made for ending it. Brea sat quietly on the bridge, staring at the stars. "They'll never approach us again," she said. Harlan nodded. "Not unless they forget." She turned. "And what if they do?" "Hey." "At the vault, then Iron Will teach them again." For the first time in decades, the stars seemed quiet, not peaceful. It's not calm, but nervous. The Velar fleet had been humiliated. Their ships returned limping. One never returned at all, frozen in space. Its crew locked in time. It's untouched and unreadable. Every power across the galaxy now watched the Iron Will from a distance. But none dared come close. In secret meetings, they whispered questions. They were too afraid to ask out loud. Did the humans build that weapon? Or find it? Is the ship alive? Is it even human anymore? But only one man knew the truth. On the bridge of Iron Will, Commander Harlan stared at an old photograph. It showed a younger version of himself, standing beside the same warship decades ago, back when he was just a pilot. Back when the ship hadn't awakened, Brea stood behind him, arms folded, her voice quiet. "They're sending messages now, please, demands, warnings. Dozens of governments want to know what this ship is." Harlan didn't respond. She tried again. "They say it's your responsibility to speak. You were its first commander, the last commander, the only one it still listens to." Still silence. Then Harlan stood, walked to the center of the bridge, and tapped a control. "Patch me into the Galactic broadcast net," he said. "All channels." He nodded. "All of them." Brea hesitated, and did it. Across the galaxy, in every war room, science lab, mining colony, pirate base, royal chamber, drifting outposts, screens flickered. The image appeared. Commander Harlan, old, calm. Standing on the dimly lit bridge of the ship, everyone feared. He began to speak. "I was born in a time when humanity was still crawling through the stars," he said. "When Earth was ignored, Forgotten, underestimated. He looked straight into the camera until someone pushed us too far. The screen showed old footage. Burned cities, alien fleets above Earth, screams, broken statues, back then. Harlan continued. The galaxy thought it was stronger, smarter, faster. He walked slowly across the bridge, and maybe it was. He paused at the main window, gazing into space. But we didn't fight back with strength. We didn't build shiny toys. We built something else. Something slow, something silent, something that doesn't forget. The screen showed Iron Will, drifting, unmoving, surrounded by stars. Ship not made for battle, but for endings. Across the stars, leaders leaned closer. Soldiers stood still. Children stopped playing. Harlan's voice was steady, cold, heavy. You laugh at rust. You mock silence. You believe speed means power. He turned again, eyes sharp. But this ship holds pain older than your empires, listens deeper than your sensors. It only wakes when you forget what we sacrificed to keep it asleep. His fingers brushed the edge of the captain's chair. You think it's a weapon. It's not. The broadcast zoomed closer. It's a warning, wrapped in armor, written in blood, programmed to act only when we are mocked, threatened, or forgotten. For a moment, the screen flickered. A distorted shape appeared behind. Harlan, just a shadow, a ripple, a presence. Then it faded. Harlan said one final thing. We won't invade you, won't chase you. But if you ever encircle us again, you won't have time to regret it. He stepped back. The screen went black in the silence that followed. Several leaders across the galaxy canceled fleet deployments. Others ordered their intelligence teams to stop monitoring Earth. One old king, upon seeing the ripple behind Harlan, whispered, "That ship doesn't carry a weapon. That ship is a graveyard, and it's waiting for more." Back aboard Iron Will, Brea stared at her commander. "You've never told us the full truth, sir, about what's in the vault?"
About
The orb. Harlan looked tired now, not weak, just old. "It's not my story to tell," he said. "Then whose is it?" He looked toward the sealed door below deck. The last wars. Will it ever wake completely? Harlan didn't answer. He simply walked away. Later that night, Brea sat alone on the observation deck. She stared out at the stars, not in wonder, but in respect. Because now, she understood. Iron Will wasn't a human warship. It was humanity's promise to the galaxy. A promise made long ago. You may forget us. You may laugh at us. But if you push too far, we'll remind you why fear was once your only language. It started with a mistake. One forgotten empire the Jurnek swarmed didn't believe the stories. They had been silent for decades, deep in the outer void, too distant to witness the fear spreading across the galaxy. When the broadcast reached them, they didn't watch it. They dismissed it. An old man on an old ship, their supreme admiral hissed, "Let's crack it open and see what ghosts the humans are hiding." They moved quickly, a fleet of 50. Hive ships, swarming like insects, closed in on Iron Will from all angles. No warning, no challenge, just attack. On Iron Will, red lights blinked slowly across the bridge. No panic, no shouting. Only a low voice from the ship's core. Mass encroachment detected. Vault seals weakening. Judgment protocol unlocked. Brea froze at her station, sir. They're not just watching this time, they're charging weapons. Commander Harlan's eyes darkened. Then it's time. He moved toward the sealed elevator leading to the vault below deck. Brea grabbed his arm. "Wait, what are you doing?" His voice was steady, ending it. In the deepest level of Iron Will, beyond the blast-proof doors and abandoned corridors, the vault sat in silence. A single red orb floated in a suspension field. It had not spoken in years. Until now, as Harlan approached, the orb pulsed. "Commander, I am awake. Are we unchained?" Harlan nodded. "Then I will remember." The floor shook, the walls breathed, and the vault sealed for over 70 years opened above. The Jurnek's fleet began firing. Missiles, plasma, hyperlight torpedoes, everything. They didn't aim to disable the ship. They aimed to erase it. But Iron Will did not explode. It changed. Panels across its hull shifted. Plates slid aside. Hidden compartments opened, revealing long dormant weapons not of human design. Cannons that shimmered in colors no I could describe. Turrets that bent light around them. Pulse. Core that hummed like the void itself was singing, and the ship spoke. Not with Harlan's voice. Not with human language, but in a universal tone. One message. One sentence. One truth. You forgot who ended the last war. From every direction, the Jurnek swarm closed in, and then, in a burst of energy that collapsed local space-time, for 6 seconds, Iron Will fired once, just once. A ring of light spread outward, like a ripple across still water, and the entire swarm stopped moving. No fire. No crash. Just frozen 50 ships, thousands of warriors, all held in place by a force beyond understanding. Then came the second pulse quiet. Almost gentle, and every Jurnek ship began to break apart from the inside. No explosions, just undoing. As if their atoms remembered they didn't belong here. Back on the bridge, Brea watched in horror. It didn't just destroy them. It unmade them, she whispered. Harlan returned, his face pale, eyes tired. That's why we locked it away, he said. That's why we built Iron Will not to use the vault, but to bury it inside something so boring no one would ever be curious. She turned to him slowly. And now, he stared out at the stars. They got curious. The rest of the galaxy watched everything. They had listened to the warnings. Now, they witnessed the result of ignoring them, even the oldest. Races the ones who thought they had seen every kind of weapon stayed silent because what they saw wasn't war. It was judgment. Hours later, the Galactic broadcast system flickered back on. Harlan appeared once more. But this time he looked older, like the weight of the ship was finally showing on his face. I hope that was enough, he said. No more games. No more threats. No. More warnings. His voice softened. Iron Will is leaving your space. She will sleep again. But if you ever try to reach her vault again, just remember what you saw today. Then he gave a small, tired smile. Earth doesn't need to roar. She just needs to remember. The screen went black in the days that followed. Multiple empires disarmed half their fleets. Treaties were rewritten. Space around Earth was marked off limits, and the phrase, "Don't wake the will," became a universal proverb. Even children whispered it when they played too close to old machines. Brea stood at the observation deck, watching as Iron Will drifted slowly into unclaimed space. Her lights dimming again, she whispered. Who's laughing now? Harlan stood beside her. No one. He turned and walked away. Behind them, the sealed vault closed once more. Never locked, never chained, just waiting. In Iron Will, the slowest ship in the galaxy, disappeared into the stars. Not as a weapon, not as a ship, but as a reminder.